Hello, everyone. It is Matthew. It is June the 7th. It's Sunday night. Just going to be doing a market breakdown here, and hopefully, we can kind of ease into the week ahead because last week was a crazy one. And I think everyone saw that. And so, this is the dollar index. I'm just going to jump right into it. And we had discussed this pattern on a large scale breaking upward. This is technically a continuation pattern. We have the run up, you have what's called a climax here, and it enters into this consolidation area. But given the macro events of so many issues in the states right now, the obviously fundamentally it is not beneficial to have a civil war in your country, and that is truly what's developing right now. You have such conflict between so many different organizations, and it's not good for a currency. So, just an amazing drop through all of the levels, not even really slowing down. It gave a little hammer here, but just no conviction, and it just kept going. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start to look for areas. I'm not in any US dollar trades right now just because I'm waiting for this to all wash out. As this pattern develops, if it starts to develop into a flag, I might try to get some downside. If it starts to bottom, I might try to go long. But currently not in any dollar trades. I'm just watching this all play out. And that's the dollar index. So inversely correlated is the Euro USD. We've had this beautiful run up, and once again, to me, there's just a little bit further to go. You can see at this 13 level, it has started to stall. But to say we want to go short, I don't know. You could drop down. You could drop down. Oh, there's your doji or what have you. You could always find reasons, but let's look more at the structure of things. And until maybe something like this drops through this trend line, I wouldn't be looking to go short or anything. Not yet. Just let it keep developing a picture. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of other opportunities. We'll discuss that. Some of the ideas have been posted in the group already. Some are already in profit. So there's always other ideas. You never have to force a trade. And there's so much going on. I'm just going to sit on my hands with this one. So just going to wait for a little while and we'll see what happens. And the USD yen, this one has broken to the upside. We're above our 200 EMA. There's still more headroom, in my opinion, and it is inversely correlated to gold. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I'll be interested to see what is going to transpire. So once again, US dollar pair sitting on my hands. And the pound US dollar, actually, I was just looking at this earlier, and market's been open here for about 4 or 5 hours. And just zooming in, this is on a daily, but you can start getting down in time frames. You can see these long wicks are starting to show. Like it's this, and even this heat map has started to show divergence. It's signaling a bear, lots of red, meaning selling pressure. I've highlighted the area. I use lines and shaded boxes, but you can see that it's going back. We're up in that area. It is an idea that I've posted as a discussion and just watching it. So we'll see what happens. As I said, I'm not really in anything just right now, and we'll just see what the morning holds. I'll probably look at it in the morning. So odd USD, let's have another look here. Let's zoom out a little bit. I find the daily is a great place to start. So once again, we're up in that same shaded area, a really strong run up. I wouldn't just be jumping at these. And let me see if I can make a little pattern here. Um, so I don't think I'm pushing this. I try not to just, this is a little bit better. Okay, so this is a 4-hour chart. So this is quite a lengthy time horizon, this whole pattern here. We've had a break, we've had that run up. That run up you could call maybe a flagpole or something like that. But when you have wedge patterns that are upwards like this, often they break to the downside. And we're sitting on our hands anyways. But when you have patterns that look like this, And then you start to bring into your discussion your heat mapping and divergence and oversold and overbought areas. And then you start looking left and you have, um, this, oh, pardon me. Uh, when you start looking left, you start having, that the shaded areas that are being highlighted on the chart. So you have so many various areas that are starting to build a thesis for you, kind of a narrative of what is potentially going to happen. Um, I'm not in this trade. I think I'll leave these marks on here that this is more or less what I think would happen. Um, and you can see that the price is just starting to slow a little bit. You're starting to get those wicks failing to break above the next one, and you have your divergence here. The bear has been signaled lots. So, yeah, this is a trade that, if anything, because we have broken above these areas of resistance, I'd be looking to them now as support. So if you got short into this area, that's something, that's a trade that you could look at. That's on you. I don't think I'm going to touch anything like that right now. I was in this last week, the U.S. Swissy, and to me, it's a little unknown. I'm just sitting on my hands with these U.S. pairs right now. I just don't think. I just want a little more clarity. I find also I do better later in the week. I find if I rush into the market, especially on a Sunday night, only a handful of hours after the market's opened, no one's sat at their computers properly. The professional institutions aren't working Sunday nights, and so just allowing things to settle out a little bit, give you a little more clear direction. Um, this is the New Zealand US dollar, and you can see quite a run up, an impressive run up, absolutely. And same thing, you have your heat map and your bear signals, your divergence, you're coming into areas of resistance over here. Um, I would just be, once again, that kind of rising wedge pattern, or let's just give it a bunch of hours and see what happens. I find so often that price, as it's kind of arcing, it would break and you wake up, you think, oh, I missed it. But if you were to just wait patiently and set a limit order up here, and we'll work on those, we'll work on Fibonacci levels and stuff to get that a higher probability entrance where you can set limit orders, and then you're just controlling a lot more of your price action, your exposure overnight, and all that sort of stuff. So the U.S. CAD is an interesting one. It gapped down, and I was talking to a partner of mine, and we agreed that it was going to gap down. It was a trade idea last week, and this really highlights. I was very clear that I scaled out of a lot of positions, some in profit, some not in profit. Friday night, I said okay, and I think it was around noon or 2 o'clock. I can't remember, but I just started getting out, and it's not worth it. And you had OPEC meetings over the weekend. The CAD, if I'm trading the US CAD, I'm looking at oil. And to me, it's just not worth the exposure. And we had erroneous job data for the US dollar. Like, it's just such a gong show is happening right now. And you never can predict anything, even if there is civil unrest or pardon me, not civil unrest. And it's a little more of a stable environment. You can never predict what's going to happen over the weekend. And so having huge positions on, one day that will burn you. One day you might make a ton of money, but one day it will burn you and it'll bother you. So looking the US CAD at this point, this is a good area to start looking for longs, but once again, let's wait until the morning. We can always find a continuation. We broke to the downside. You can always find these flags all over the place. Flags. I don't think there's a ton more downside to this, but it did gap down. So you have a gap here, which is a form of support and resistance, and then we are starting to get into the support area, which is clearly highlighted here. So that is something that we'll just be watching, and this is, once again, Sunday night. This is a trade idea of mine. This has been moving a lot. This was a beautiful trade. It fully reversed, took me at a break even. And maybe it was a little revenge trading, but I went long last week here, and I cannot remember if it was either way. It's very close to break even. No real opinion at this point. I know I posted it as an idea in the group, but let's just sit on our hands and get a little more direction. Especially, it's a CAD pair. The CAD and AUD are both commodity currencies, is what they're called, and they're very correlated to oil, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. So this is an idea I posted in the group, and you can see I've even laid it all out. It is at this point into profit. It's actually dropped nicely there the last little while. Well, I guess not nicely, but it is, you're starting to get uh, areas where it's explaining very clearly, hey, I'm starting to get a little tired. I'm starting to get a little exhausted. You can see it tried to break and close, it couldn't. Tried to break and close, it couldn't. And keep in mind, these are 4 hours, so these are couldn't, couldn't. Made this beautiful little shooting star here. It's quite tiny, but it is in theory a shooting star, and we'll see what happens. I think I'm in this trade. I posted this trade, and at Sunday night, and it's the only thing I've entered at this point. You can see my risk reward is here. This was once again. I never want anyone to kind of look at these quantities because I operate different accounts, and I'm always kind of breaking stuff down for people. So never look at this as anything that has any value with our discussion. Just where the points are on the map is what's going to be of value to us. Okay, so yeah, so this you just had such a run up. I'd really like to just delete these, and I'll do that if take 2 seconds here. So clear it out. So this area over here, if you look left, you have this beautiful area of resistance. You've had such a strong run up. This is like a 700 pip move. It is insanity. And so you have these crazy moves, and then on a daily, it's firing a doji and right at a resistance line with this indicator showing a lot of selling pressure and at a whole number. Like this is starting to build an argument where you think you can enter this trade, and you think you can enter this trade at least to get to break even. And I think that's an honest assumption that we can do that. This price is going to come back and retest, and whether it continues to the downside or upside, I think it'll go further north, but this is a bit of a hedge, and then we're going to carry on. That's what I think is going to happen, and we'll just keep an eye on it. So what do we got here? So you can see I didn't trade this last week, but you can see these areas where it's becoming a little exhausted, and yeah, well, let's keep an eye on it, but I think we could at least get down. I'm not going to trade this at any point right now, but I believe we'll break to the downside, probably a little correction, and then something like this. So I'm just going to timestamp that right now. But and what we have here, I don't know if anyone notices, what we have are these, clearly a head and shoulders pattern showing. So I would expect a little pullback. It's been a strong sell-off. Let's see what happens here. If we wanted to trade this, I would wait for it to break, relax back up, and then we'd grab the downside on this. But let's keep an eye on it, and that's what we do. We just have our charts, and this is a very easy software to just keep on clicking through. It doesn't take very long. Same thing, euro, we're already in the euro yen, so I'm not interested in a euro Swissy trade, but same thing, run up into resistance area, beautiful strong run up, breaking through everything. We're going to be looking for a little correction. I'm good enough with my exposure on the euro yen, and but it looks very much like a trade idea that and I believe these lines are from a couple weeks ago. So this double bottom is confirming, in my opinion. So, all right, let's move on. The euro odd triple bottom. So that was something we did. We can delete that because it was wrong, and it didn't. It just broke to the downside. We'll see what happens here. I think there's a sort of like negative news just started coming out with the odd, so we'll see how that correlates or how that works with or against the euro. And yeah, so nothing jumping out at me. Sure, there's a little candle here. Look at this. But this isn't something I would try to long up to here. There's no risk reward ratio for me there. And the downside doesn't appeal to me either. So I'm just going to hang on tight and nothing's jumping out at me. There's other opportunities. So this was obviously something I left it on the chart to show that I believed it broke through and it was going to respect that and drop down, but that's not what happened. Um, Once again, other opportunities, not interested in what this is showing me at this point, but it is on a daily coming up to a daily 200 EMA. So this area here is where if things are going to start to happen, they're going to start to happen in this area. And so let's keep an eye on that area as we check our charts. The pound yen, oh, I believe we spoke about this last week. And this here, let me just delete that. This here, you know, is, you could call this a dark cloud cover, I guess you could call it. Lots of red, probably not the worst trade to the downside, but for me personally, I'm in enough. Now that's a 6-hour chart, so let's see what the 4-hour is saying. And if you guys don't know, in TradingView you can scroll. So I'm just using the scroll on my mouse, and that's what you end up with. But if you hold control where you want to scroll, you do not lose it. So you don't have to, like this is scrolling. So there's just a little hot tip there for you. So yeah, the control button really helps you get, this is as close as I can get. That's it. But it allows you to stay on your target without having to constantly scroll your whole chart. You can just scroll to zoom in and out. So yeah, this pair is probably ready for some downside, and you know you can do well for yourself. You know, you guys love your pips. I'm more of a percentage guy, but yeah, you can do well for yourself if you just start managing risk and making good trades. Now, if you looked back at, so it's a yen pair. The pound yen versus, just as a discussion, the euro yen. I think actually someone on Twitter I mentioned that I just felt like this was a little bit better of a trade, a few more things working for the technical picture. But if you were to look left, it's not really up in this meat yet. And I would want to see a little more resistance to price than what I'm seeing. And if you switch over to, if we switch over to this pair, the euro yen, you're getting that. You're getting that resistance in price over here. I know I'm kind of scrolling in and out a lot, but you know, there's nowhere for it to go. It's hit it. It's not even, you know, it is in that zone. Price currently is in that zone. So, you know, you're not hoping it gets a little further. There'll be a lot of orders sitting in this level, and that's probably why you're getting that little bit of a thrust down at this point in time. That, yeah, there are a lot of sellers in this area, a lot of buyers taking their profits or locking in their profits at this level too. So just hang out with price, let it get to where you need it to go, because this whole run up did you a favor and it never confused you. Sure, you could drop down into smaller time frames, but it never confused you and said, I'm about to reverse. So and that was that. But I do have it marked. I use red to say I'm kind of as a watcher. Now the Australian dollar CAD, same thing. A lot of things really broke out this week, and we're looking left. This is a pair I'm not interested in trading right now. I'm actually already in an odd pair. Saying that, if you have a real, if you're excited about this pair, it does and is showing potential correction. Now, you know, we are above 200 EMAs, we are above areas of support and resistance, so it would be more of just a hedge to the downside and then looking for a long. This one was interesting. It stalled here. I think I got in and then I was taking out a break even last week. So it just blew right through, and I was even showing it on here. Might as well just delete that. And it is now in that area. So this one is, this pair is doing very nicely by showing you lots of red signals. You're overbought, and you're looking left, and in this area, there should start to become some patterns that you can trade. Um, you can always drop. That's a trick, and I know you see me going from daily to 6 and 4 and stuff. You can always drop down and find something. It doesn't matter what you're looking at. You can drop down to a 15-minute chart, drop down to whatever level confirms your bias, and so you have to be careful that you're not just making stuff up to try to find areas that confirm your levels. Now, I don't know if I've lost my internet here. There was just the weather is really acting up here, and yeah, I did lose my internet. So let's pause it here. All right. I think I lost my internet. I think I lost my internet again. Are these prices live? All right. Okay, so sorry, a little bit of a hiccup there. There was a lightning flash. The weather's been crazy here in Costa Rica. The last night it was just incredible. It doesn't rain for months and months, and then it's now rainy season, and it's been incredible. And especially going from completely bone dry, tinder box dry to lush green in like inside of 3 weeks has been amazing to watch. Okay, so the odd yen, we talked about it, got up to this level. Now we're going to start looking for shorts. I'm going to do this in the morning. I'm already in an odd New Zealand trade. Um, we talked about it last week. We posted the idea. It's about 70 pips into profit at this point. So I'm just going to hang out with this trade. I'm not looking to jump into too much. I'm not sure whether I mentioned in the beginning of the video, but I seem to do better kind of later, mid to later in the week anyways, so I try not to jump into everything right off the bat. So the odd New Zealand, it's already come down. Now I believe it's going to correct a little bit, and maybe we'll even develop a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern, and then further downside is what I'm anticipating. But you can see like price here on this 4 hour 200 EMA will probably get rejected, and then I'm thinking we'll head on down and we'll rock and roll that way. Bitcoin, what are you doing, Bitcoin? You, yeah, like this. I didn't trade it. It did pull down, and then like Bitcoin became really turned on right before market open. I don't execute on TradingView. My broker is not live over the weekend, and so watching price move around on TradingView when it's not live it's just not something I'm excited about. But yeah, Bitcoin, I don't know. Everyone was talking about the breakout. This is it. This is we're never coming back, but it fully retraced back inside, and so I'm not sure. I don't often trade it, but at this point, I don't really have an opinion. So this was a chart I posted because you start to get into these little dojis and stuff after the breakout inside of zones that I want to see. There's basically been the Fed is saying that they don't care. They will support the markets uh, relentlessly is what they've admitted, and so you have these, you have civil unrest, you have no one working, you have it's just crazy. There's a pandemic, and I thought we were supposed to all be, I'm not even making a political statement or any kind of a right or wrong of what's happening. The fact that it is happening, and there's this pandemic going on, and now there's all these protests, I just don't know where this is going to go or what the second wave looks like if there is one. So I just caution everyone, especially with the S&P. Um, you know, I wouldn't even obviously look at it till we get to this level here. Um, it is a gong show. I did in my other account, I actually bought a position. There's no stop on it. It's a small position. That's how I'm managing risk. But I anticipate when a correction comes, that a correction comes quickly. And I'm not trying to time anything. I'm just in it. So yeah, this is a gong show. This is a gong show, man. Like I have no idea what's going on there. So oil, this is a gap. I've highlighted a gap in the shaded area. Oil, we are coming up to the 200 EMA now. Tons of red on the heat map, and it's had a great run. This was this was a mess, and it just kept continuing on. We called the double bottom, we called the down, we called the up. It was a great run in and around here, and we'll just see what this week holds because we've hit $40 now. And so these major lines in the sand, when you look, you have a gap. The upper part of the gap is going to offer resistance. You have an EMA or 200 EMA at that level, and yeah, so let's just see what is going to transpire. And they're getting more lightning here, so I'm going to try to speed this along. Gold, blown away that it hasn't broken out. Me and everyone else are surprised. I won't long it. I won't do any of that until it gives me an honest. I'm out of. I don't have any precious metal in my other account. I don't have any precious metal positions. So we're just going to sit on our hands, watch this all happen, watch it all roll out, and we got the break. We had, um, yeah, I don't know. Just I'm sitting on my hands until we have a strong reversal. Silver, I'm kind of a bit of a sweetheart of mine because I've made a few silver calls that have been decent. I had this one, the breakout, and then I called this as going just slightly north to this next level of resistance. We didn't get that. We had a strong drop out of the bottom, and which is just a failed pattern. These happen all the time. And then now we've had a strong drop, and now I guess we'd be looking around here, to be honest with you. Someone in a forum was telling me it's going to $10, and that's just not happening, in my opinion. Um, yeah, so once again, we'll see what silver has to offer us. And, I do like to keep an eye on the Hang Seng Index, and it's corrected a little bit. And there's so many issues globally right now. We're going to keep an eye on everything, I guess. So let's roll into this week. We have a couple trades, this one in particular, and let's just see what happens. Let's just enjoy the week ahead. I appreciate you watching the video, and trade safely. And let's minimize our risk this week because there's a lot in the air. A lot of things are going on, and I will see you and talk to you Wednesday, and I will chat continuously in the Telegram group. Thank you.